producers of this video wish to gratefully acknowledge the Honorable Vice President J. Dan Quayle for his ongoing and generous contributions to the symbiotic worlds of politics and humor. P.S. Keep up the good work.
Who is Dan Quayle?
Who?
The people of Indiana know me.
They do?
Oh, I do not say.
And now, the nation will.
5'10", hair like 10, looks like TV weatherman. Yes, Danny Quayle is my Kendall.
What?
See that? Don't panic.
He's a very different man from the intellectual midget that has been portrayed in much of the media.
I was very partial to Superman and Dennis the Menace comic books. I made a misstatement, and I stand by all my misstatements. Misstatements.
Teeth of white, very bright, twice as smart as Vanna White. Yes, Danny's really on the ball.
Oh, yeah.
People look at Dan Quayle and say, why was he elected? I say, here's a big clue. Insurance, okay.
I don't think I could shoot a deer. Well, that's something else again.
Ready or not, the unofficial Dan Quayle video. Welcome to Huntington, Indiana. My name's Will Durst, and I'm here deep in the 219 area code, boyhood home of the 44th Vice President of these United States, James Danforth Quayle. Now, Dan may not look like a powerful politician, but he plays one on TV. And being a Midwestern boy myself, I know that growing up in the heartland can mark you for life. So I'm here to figure out who this guy is and how did he get to be where he is, only a chicken bone away from the presidency. It was right here at Nick's Kitchen where Dan Quayle announced his candidacy for his first political office, which he won. Boy, you'd think that Danny had parted the Red Sea by the turnout at Nick's Kitchen whenever he visits for his latest political agenda. Nobody ever buys me a cup of coffee when I go home to visit. But I guess being named vice president isn't something that happens every day. Look, they even named a street after him. And we snuck by Dan's childhood home at night to take a look. Maybe we should come back during the day. We better get out of here. To pick up the scent, I had to go back about 40 years, retrace the story. Dan had a Norman Rockwell childhood. Pollyanna would have thrown up. Well-to-do family, no deforming experiences, and he always loved golf. And he always wanted to be an astronaut. From an early age, Dan saw a way to combine these interests. Later on, he was appointed to head NASA. Can you believe it? He was appointed to run the space agency. And this is where he started to find out that things could be much more difficult than they looked.
The wrong color.
This is a representative of the fine work of All America and our aerospace programs, and delighted if you take it forward to the White House with you. Thank you. It's only a mock-up.
Dan hasn't actually gone into space yet, but I think he's still hoping to put a lunar landing on his resume.
Thank you very much, Bob, Mr. President, Mrs. Bush, Dick Truly, and fellow astronauts, and ladies and gentlemen.
Fellow astronauts?
Something wrong, fellow astronauts. That's not a one. You got one.
And it wouldn't be long before Dan was totally lost in space. Listen to this. Mars is essentially in the same orbit as the Earth, somewhat the same distance from the sun. We have seen pictures where there are canals, we believe, and water. If there is water, that means there is oxygen. If oxygen, that means we can breathe. What? And with all these new buddies, there are bound to be some mix-ups, like the time he confused astronaut Buzz Aldrin with Congressman Buzz Lukens, a guy convicted of having sex with a 16-year-old girl.
As America celebrates the 20th anniversary of Neil Armstrong, Buzz Luken, walking on the moon.
Uh-oh.
I stand by all my misstatements.
Oh, come on, Aldrin, Lukens. Give the kid a break. They both have 2 syllables, 6 letters. They share the letters L and N. I bet there were a lot of guys named Buzz when Danny went here at what used to be Huntington High, the Vikings. Besides, this young leader in training had more important things on his mind.
I think I know how I am to introduce myself. I stand at attention. Name, Dan Quayle. Rank, Sergeant. Serial number, 303-504096. Indiana National Guard, 6 years and proud of it.
That's right. Dan wanted to serve his country. And joining the Indiana National Guard during Vietnam seemed like the obvious and easy choice.
I also served in kitchen patrol and peeled a lot of potatoes and things that other specialists do.
And if the Viet Cong or hippies and protesters had come anywhere near Indianapolis, Dan would have been right there. Who among us could have told him that this perfectly honest Dodge could come back to haunt him so relentlessly?
I did not know in 1969 that I would be in this room today, I'll confess.
Dan is pretty unassuming about how he served his country, but no one else ever gets tired of hearing about it.
The Cleveland Plain Dealers report today that, in fact, the Indiana National Guard was over manpower, not under.
That is not true. There was no influence used. I didn't have to use any influence because before I applied there were openings, when I applied there were openings, and after I applied there were openings. Those are the facts. And if you're interested in the facts, there they are. At that age, you call home. You call home to mother and father and say, I'd like to get in the National Guard. Those are the facts.
There was a feeding flurry in the water out there. You know I like blue fishing. And have you ever seen them when they just squirming all around and feeding in a frenzy? That's exactly what was happening.
Those are the facts.
Did someone act on your behalf to get you into the National Guard?
During the war in Vietnam, you had a chance to seek active service, like many other members of your generation, and you didn't. You chose service in the National Guard.
Did you have to have any help getting into the Guard?
Okay, let me tell you. You're going back 20 years.
Right.
Let me say this. I was very interested in getting into the Indiana National Guard. And I'm sure that I let a number of people know that I was interested. Those are the facts. And if you're interested in the facts, there they are.
Senator, do you have a hearing problem?
I think George had it nailed. Bluefish is right. It was a feeding frenzy. So how did Dan and his handlers respond to the pressure? Well, they decided to go out and seek a friendly group of reporters, average age 13, to lob some softballs at the vice president.
What if we do have to go back to the draft? What if, the American people don't believe in the war? There's a lack of volunteers, and we do have to resort to the draft. You don't think that the country would need me to fight more than to be in the National Guard?
That we're going to have peace, not conflict. So your hypothetical won't even occur.
Go along with the premise of our question. Let's suppose that there is a war and he is drafted and he has a friend whose father can get him into the National Guard and out of the draft.
The war is not inevitable. As a matter of fact, we're going to do the right things to make sure that we have peace.
Wow, even these kids are in on this bluefish thing. What gives? Why is everybody always picking on Dan? When a guy like Dan Quayle comes along, I gotta believe he's a little refreshing. Sure, he was known as Florida's 3rd senator because he spent so much time there golfing, and I know he once proposed legislation that would have given a tax break to golf pros, but big deal! In a day and age when so many politicians are crooks or philanderers or both, Dan can't even get in trouble with any kind of authority. He can't even get a speeding ticket. His big worry is that someone might get a hold of his college grades. That is so mild, it's actually charming. And I think we should all be a little bit grateful.
When I go to work at Wendy's, I would have to release my grades. Now, you're running for the 2nd highest office in the nation, which is obviously holds much more responsibility than dishing up hamburgers at Wendy's. So, why aren't you releasing your grades?
I have said that I will seriously consider releasing my grades when everybody else does.
But what kind of role model are you going to be? Are you going to stand up and give a speech to America's youth saying, if you aspire to someday be president or vice president, you can slide on your grades. It really doesn't matter?
No, absolutely. And I tell my children to study hard, and I use my experience as a good example.
Dan has every reason to feel that we just don't know him well enough. And if we did, we'd have to like him. Hasn't everybody else?
The American people are getting a little bit sick and tired. They want to know who Dan Quayle is. I'm going to view this as a great opportunity to just be Dan Quayle and let the American people see Dan Quayle as I really am.
Stand by your Dan. I'll work him till he's dizzy, just like I keep kids busy within my clan. My handyman.
In due time, in due time, in due time, the American people will see the real Dan Quayle, what he stands for.
Should we worry that Dan Quayle is not qualified enough on the golf course?
No. Why? Because he's a fine man and well qualified for the job.
I think he's going to make an excellent vice president, and I believe that he's going to be a popular vice president just as soon as the people of this country see him as he is.
I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Ouch! I don't care who you are, that's gotta hurt. And these are other politicians. Isn't that one of those pot with the kettle and the color black things? You look at politician in the dictionary, it says people who lie to the press and then believe what they read. Well, let's talk about the issues. Come on. Family, education, civil rights, and the national agenda. Surely we can let Dan speak for himself then, can't we?
And you take the UNCF motto that what a waste it is to lose one's mind or not to have a mind is being very wasteful. How true that is. We understand the importance of having the bondage between the parent and the child. And believe
Did he say bondage?
We understand the importance of having the bondage between
He said
the
bondage.
parent and the child. Millions of innocent people lost their lives because of the bigotry and Hitlerism that permeated Germany and other parts of the world. It was an obscene period in our nation's history.
I'd like to follow up on two things. One, you said that it was just now about the Holocaust, it was an obscene period in our nation's history. Was that, you didn't mean to say that?
No, not our nation's, but in World War II. I mean, we all lived in this century. I didn't live in this century, but in this century's history. It is a point of history that this nation, our nation, understands. We did not have, matter of fact, we fought Hitlerism.
Okay, maybe he's not the world's greatest public speaker. That happens to be one of the greatest fears of Americans, you know. He's a vice president, not some inspirational beacon of light destined to be followed by millions. You know, one former VP called the office not worth a bucket of spit. Certainly had a way with words, didn't he? Now, don't you think Dan can hold his place proudly alongside some of the prize klutzes of our nation's history?
If you just talk like a Dan, my fancy Dan, talk like a Dan, my son, that's how the plan to be a famous man, and George will be your Dan.
You know, Dan doesn't even get the golf thing right. I mean, sure, most politicians golf, but they all make sure they're lousy at it. Remember Gerald Ford? He played golf like a football player, hit anything that moved. And old Ford and Agnew, he can't even lie about his score. All you gotta do is count the casualties along the course. No one wants to seem too much like a country clubber, except Dan, who shoots par, then seems to enjoy reminding us of it.
I got to get some exercise somehow, other than just bringing down the trash.
But Dan is a big boy, and he's got to get with the program in the tradition of all those great English-speaking politicians of this century.
From Stettin in the Baltic.
Names like Churchill, Kennedy, and even Nixon, for God's sakes. And what's Dan's great advice to us?
Don't panic.
And who can forget that eloquent sports metaphor?
My good friend, perhaps not a good friend in this audience, but some would respect him, my coach of IU basketball, Bobby Knight, told me this. He says, there is nothing that a good defense cannot beat a better offense. In other words, a good offense wins. Our strategy is not defense.
Okay, so it's not quite on a par with the Gettysburg Address, but maybe if we heard it again.
There is nothing that a good defense cannot beat a better offense. In other words, a good offense wins. Our strategy is not defense.
He's a very different man from the intellectual midget that has been portrayed in much of the media.
I admit that I once had a coonskin cap and knew all the words to the ballad of Davy Crockett.
What?
I did, in fact, eat graham crackers, drink milk, and took naps in kindergarten.
When?
I was very partial to Superman and Dennis the Menace comic books.
I guess Dan just can't get away from those comic book superheroes. Listen to this one, and I quote, "I used to be a Batman fan until I got this job. Now, all of a sudden, Robin looks awfully good." Since Dan has been VP, so much has happened. The Berlin Wall has fallen, the Soviet Union collapsed, and now there's a new republic and new leader. Such exciting times. Where is Dan while all this is happening? Cleaning up the Exxon Valdez oil spill in Alaska.
The purpose of my visit is to get a first-hand examination of the situation so I can talk with the President about it tomorrow when I have lunch with him. The President is very interested in this whole issue. I'm going to tell him that I'm impressed by the ongoing work that is currently going on.
Huh? While George the Boss is making headlines with his neat friends, look where Danny has to go. Chile, to hold hands with that not-so-nice dictator, Auguste Pinochet. Now, is that fair? The Chilean crowd outside the embassy did not like Dan, but he still found a moment to be gracious.
The reaction to you?
The crowd? Well, I've had worse.
Back home at the VP mansion, Dan gets to meet with the likes of Prince Charles. Now there's a strategic leader. Or a photo opportunity with the real one. And never mind the remarks about who's real and who's the impersonator. So Dan has had to do his share of being a good sport. And after a slow start, I think he's finally catching on to how things work.
As I left on my 27,000-mile trip to the Pacific, the President called me in. He says, "Dan," he says, "our relations with the Pacific countries are very important to the United States, but we're going to let you go anyway."
Huh? Well, they let him go, but I think he got lost on his way to the Aloha State. Here's what he said. "Hawaii has always been a very pivotal role in the Pacific. It is in the Pacific. It is a part of the United States that is an island that is right here." Well, he's right. But this guy makes his own bad luck. He can't even make innocent gestures.
As king, I feel right at home in this gymnasium.
When George Bush first trotted him out as a nominee 4 years ago, Dan got a tad carried away, but hey, who wouldn't?
When you get up there, he says, "You tell George Bush one thing, go get him."
This poor guy isn't even allowed to be enthusiastic without everyone comparing him to a game show host or carnival barker. It's pretty clear right from the get-go that Dan was there to serve one function and one function only. His own mentor pushed him out there and then said, "Go ahead. Hey, it's open season."
I don't think I could shoot a deer. Quayle, that's something else again.
Well, if the president says it's okay, why can't us comedians take a shot?
George, Barbara, thank you. People look at Dan Quayle and say, "Why was he elected?" I say, here's a big clue. Insurance. Okay.
The man's got the IQ of an Irish setter, which makes him seem stupid to other dogs. Say this with me. President Quayle. Did you feel your sphincter just go, eh? Oh, the thought of him being president, I get that swirling Hitchcock thing behind me. I'm like, oh! President Quayle. If he's going to become president, you're going to find my ass out in the middle of the Mojave Desert with a Pan Am flight bag and a mirror trying to get the mothership to land. Get me the out of here, baby.
Everything you wanted to do. It's like slam dunking from a stepladder. George Bush, Reagan light. And if Bush is Reagan light, then what the hell is Quayle? Some bad Xerox without any toner, man? Somewhere in America, a Ken doll is missing, and he's now the vice president. Vice President Rain Man. I'm an excellent politician, definitely an excellent politician. George emulates me around the country when he's away. Just up and down the driveway. Excellent politician, definitely. Uh-oh, what? No, 3 minutes, what? Uh-oh. Oh, we love to mock and scoff and taunt, but you know, I've never been accosted by hordes of journalists while taking out the garbage.
You mind coming over and talk to us, Senator?
Give us some help.
A lot of trash.
I think we owe Dan Quayle a reevaluation. I mean, this guy can play hardball when he wants to. Oh, sure, he's taken a couple of vicious blows to the head, but hey, he can dish it out as well.
The governor of Massachusetts, he lost his top naval advisor last week. The rubber duck drowned in his bathtub.
As we can see, Dan Quayle has taken political humor to new heights.
My name's Danny Quayle. I didn't go to Yale. Got C's and D's at Indiana U. What I'll confess is the key to my success is you talk like me and you'll be famous too. If you just
Talk like a Dan, much as you can. Talk like a Dan, my son. That's how to plan to be a famous man. And Georgie will be your fan.
Well, these guys seem happy that Dan is around, and so is the Washington Post. They just did a 7-part series on the Quayle Meister, and there's a publication called the Quayle Quarterly that tracks his every move. Oh, there's sweatshirts and T-shirts and toys and books and calendars and posters and everything, and even more on the way. Just as soon as Dan does something else new and wacky and zany. Which brings me to my next point, and Dan's too. I think we've been too hard on the guy.
And I hope that there's some respect and dignity for things that I did not do before we go rushing off with all these so-called rumors.
But rumors aren't really Dan's problem. It's the facts he has trouble getting straight. Another of his revelations involved the TV sitcom character, Murphy Brown. Well, many of the nation's top experts said poor race relations and economic conditions were the two main causes behind the Los Angeles riots. The vice president managed to uncover a possibility they overlooked. That's right. You might remember that. According to Dan, America's favorite fictional television anchor, Murphy Brown, represented what is to blame for the newest chapter in the decline of the Western civilization, or at least South Central L.A.
It doesn't help matters when primetime TV has Murphy Brown, a character who supposedly epitomizes today's intelligent, highly paid professional woman, mocking the importance of fathers by bearing a child alone and calling it just another lifestyle choice.
As usual, Quayle's comment made for good late-night fodder.
Dan Quayle blasted the season finale of TV show Murphy Brown, saying that it is morally wrong to raise a child without a strong male role model. Hey, Danny, Maryland's been doing it for years, my man, all right?
Even 8th grader Vanessa Martinez seemed to know the joke was on the vice president.
Well, he's our vice president, right? And he seems like an Irish type of man, and he has the same mentality as I do, and I'm just in the 8th grade.
And much to the chagrin of President Bush, Quayle made sure he had the last word.
Hollywood doesn't get it.
Well, while Bush might have liked to forget all about Murphy Brown, our unofficial Dan Quayle video poll showed that some of his constituents thought the fictional character might make a better vice president than Dan.
Oh, I'll definitely have to vote for Murphy Brown. I really hope it would never come down to voting for a
an idiot or a character on a TV show, though, because then if that is the case, we're really hurting.
At this present day in history, Murphy Brown would be.
Well, Murphy Brown has had more experience with politics, right? So, you know, probably Murphy Brown.
So there you have it. Quayle time. Hey, he may be a lightweight, but there's no doubting his heritage. Dan Quayle, American.
Stand by your Dan. I'll work him till he's dizzy, just like I keep kids busy within my